every small business should take very seriously the power of the internet. I've been talking with a lot of different small businesses lately, and they're not all taking it seriously. Everybody understands they should have a website, but they're taking the approach of a website being kind of like an online business card. The same way they need to appear professional by having a business card, they need to have letterhead, and yeah, they need to have a website. But what they're missing the point on is that the website is this thing that never sleeps, that's constantly marketing your business, that's there, readily available to bring in new customers, new clients, new patients for every single small business out there. And so people will say, I have a website, I've had a website for years, but I'm getting no new business from it. And so that's pretty much because nobody is seeing that website. So having a website that nobody ever sees is the same as having the best looking billboard in the middle of the desert. It's nice, it's good if somebody happens to stumble across it, but that's not going to be a consistent thing that generates profits for you and new business for you. So the two main issues when we're talking about having a website and using that to effectively market your business is that you have to have a website that gets the most amount of visitors, the most amount of traffic that are targeted for your particular business, as many as you can get. And then the second is you want a website that makes people want to take action to get them to call your business once they get there. So the first thing is to get the traffic. Now there's a great book out called The Dip by Seth Godin. And this book basically indicates how much being number one, how there's such a huge drop-off after number one. How if you're the number one rock star, how you could be paid millions of dollars, and if you're the number 10,000 rock star, how you might be happy to make your rent. There's a huge drop-off when it comes to these industries. Even if you're equally talented, if you're not number one, there's a big drop-off. The same goes for the internet. Let's say you're a particular business that 100 people a day look for your service in this area. If you're number 1, 2, or 3, then all 100 of those people are going to see your listing. Now, 75 of those people will bother to scan the rest of that first page. So being on the first page is still pretty good. That's why we say you don't have to be number 1, but you better be close, right? Only about 20 of those 100 people will manage to make it to page 2. Maybe one person will make it to page 3. So essentially, if you're not on the first page, you're not getting any business. So people are going, well, I'm on the second page, so that's good. I'll take the 20 people, and I'm not going to work on getting to that first page. Now keep in mind, the only people going to page 2 are the people who didn't find what they were looking for on page 1. So if you're looking for a Houston chiropractor, you hit that first listing and you go, okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. You're done. You're not going on to the rest of the page. You're not going on to page 2. You're not going on to page 3. So being able to capture the most possible visitors is to be in that top 3. If you're not in that top 3, then you're essentially losing customers every single day to your competitors. So you have to be on that same spot. For the people who do arrive at your website, the next step is there anything that makes them want to call your business? Because I talk to people all the time who say, well, I am number 1. I'm number 1 for my area. I'm number 1 for this particular search phrase. But there's a couple of problems with being number 1 and not getting any business. You may be number 1 for the wrong phrase, number 1. Just as an example, I offer posture information online. I think you guys know that. So I had optimized my website for improve my posture. Seemed good. Everything I looked at was great traffic. It turns out it gets about 5,000 searches a month that people are looking for the phrase improve my posture. However, the phrase have better posture, it turns out that gets 9,900 searches per month. I was not optimized for have better posture, so I could essentially double my website traffic by changing the phrase that I'm optimizing for. You know, the phrase Houston chiropractor generates one set of results. The phrase chiropractor Houston generates a different set of results. So it's a matter of determining what the right thing to optimize your site for. So I was working with a friend who's a plastic surgeon. The phrase cosmetic surgeon gets about 10 searches a day. The phrase plastic surgeon gets about 100. So he could essentially generate 10 times the amount of traffic just by tweaking one word in what he's going for. So being optimized and being number 1 for a phrase that nobody looks for is, again, like having that billboard in the middle of the desert or waving in the dark. Okay? No one's going to find you, or you're essentially leading a lot of the same customers that would be looking for you, but they're not ever going to find your site. The next thing is that if they arrive at your site and your site looks horrible, or your site makes it difficult for them to find even the most basic information, then they're probably not going to take action. It's far too easy for them to hit that back button nowadays. If they arrive at my site and they can't find where I'm located, what my office hours, if I take their insurance, they're moving on. If they arrive at your site, they can't figure out what it is that you do, they're moving on. So they say you get about 10 seconds to make that determination. Basically, if somebody types in a phrase, puppy training in Houston, and they arrive at your site, and they cannot figure out how they're supposed to call you, how they're supposed to get a hold of you, how much you charge, what you even really do, then you just hit that back button. So you essentially have 10 seconds to solve their problem. You have 10 seconds to make it very clear on that very first page, yes, you've arrived at the right spot, we're going to take care of this, this is going to solve your problem. Otherwise, it's the back button and on to listing number 2. When I talk to the people who are struggling, who have no new business, we're dealing in an economy that's struggling right now. The best example, I come from a background where I'm used to doing marketing. If you've ever been a chiropractor, which not many of you have ever been a chiropractor, right? You get a kind of a dazed people's face, right? They don't really know what you do. Even though I've given speeches in here on chiropractic, people still don't quite understand what I do. And so I've been in doing this for 12 years where I've had to, not literally, but basically drag people kicking and screaming into my office trying to explain how I can help them, what I can do. So you have to be able to market. And so I talk to businesses who don't have that issue, and they still should be able to market and bring that in. But for today, it used to be that you stick one fishing pole in, you pull out a fish. Now you might need 5 fishing poles to pull out one fish. You got to be able to have these marketing programs out there that are going to continue to work. And the beauty of having a website that ranks high is that it never sleeps. It's always there when somebody has one hand on their wallet and the other hand on the mouse, looking for services in your area, it's right there. And so to ignore this as any type of strategy for your business is to make a huge mistake and to leave tons of money and tons of business on the table. So, in closing, you need to have a website. It has to be ranked high. At a minimum, it has to be on that very first page for a top keyword phrase that somebody would want to look for if they were coming to find you. And then you have to have a site that solves their problem. So put your customer in your head and realize that it's not a matter of having flashy graphics or a movie or anything else. It's a matter of making sure that when they get there, their problem is being solved